Here is Snakebite, the 91 Ford with that fiberglass doghouse. He gets in trouble coming over the second ramp right here.
Yeah, when he lands, his name comes true. He is Snakebit. Left rear tire goes away. Now the left front. He's got his hands full trying to get ready for the first round, Gary. The equalizer.
Talk about going to school and getting an education. Look at the air time in the equalizer. He almost gets disqualified by going out of bounds. He has a problem, and Booker's going to take the victory.
The first time ever in open competition, there is no love at all between these two trucks.
Well, both get a good start side by side, but over the second one, oh, it's out of bounds for Barefoot. Barefoot will be disqualified. They lose the left rear tire on Torres. He's in trouble.
These guys, I keep referring to an old-time street fight.
This is the big boss against the Carolina Crusher.
Well, whole shot by the Carolina Crusher. Porter drilled that tree.
Look at that suspension work. He was almost
he's in trouble, Gary. He's going over.
He's going over, yes! This is a very short runoff area, really, for the speed they can pick up, and he climbs out. He's going to be all right. A rather unique race course, and, well, Snakebite is away, but John Moore is dead in the water.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that last 100 feet, Gary, look at here.
Oh, there goes the Hydra barrier. That was a Snakebite going right through that barricade, which is filled with water. Now, let's go back to qualifying and watch this wheel stand, Army.
What happened? The nose dug in, and then it kited up and broke the rear steer on him.
Well, that was back in qualifying.
They've stepped up and run at this level of competition. Look for some kamikaze shots here.
Well, Mike gets a good jump, and he will take this victory over the second set of cars.
Well, we got
trouble right there. He's going on over.
High-sided on the big end of the track, Gary.
That's like hooking a rut in a sprint car. He rolls on over as the crew will run over to check to make sure that Mike is okay. Very straight.
Okay, we saw his run, but this is what was going on in the other lane. Look at old Kimo Sabi.
I think we've set a track record for tearing up equipment in one run.
This could be one of the quickest monster truck races ever.
Side by side over the first set of cars. Torres may have him, but Torres is in trouble.
Gary, the top end charge impact blows out the right front wheel. He's trying to keep it upright. Wellman's okay. How about Porter? The song needs to be Only the Strong Survive.
A pair of Chevys side by side, and it's going to be Scott Stevens through another barricade. Where's he going?
Right outside the television truck.
And look at the interior of the truck. The roll cage has been caved in. Wayne was lucky to walk away from this. Army, let's watch again. I think this wreck right here could prompt the use of window netting like we see in NASCAR stock car racing. Watch the left arm. Watch Wayne's left arm come out of the cockpit there once and twice.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they're trying to adapt them to the open wheel vehicles. Bigfoot had some problems. We had a throttle stick on Scott Stevens' vehicle, so these guys are really laying down the law trying to get good qualifying shots in today here at Bloomsburg.
Bigfoot looks like he's lost a drive shaft there in qualifying as they continue to work on Bigfoot 8.
The monster truck fraternity is still trying to figure out the hot handle.
Well, on paper, it would look that King Kruk had the advantage. He was the faster qualifier of these two. Pretty close, really close. Hang on, is he going to go on over? No, the Snakebite almost got upside down.
These guys don't compete against each other that often. Stevens jumped him on the light, Gary.
Oh, he got a good cut, but look at the air. Fred Schaefer way up in the air. Oh, a problem for Scott Stevens. He is upside down. That truck looks like it's really been hurt.
Harder than I thought he would off the starting line. But
well, he has the advantage right there, but right here he loses it. See that truck jump up in the air?
Yeah, the chassis unloaded on Clark. Meanwhile, Porter settled down and went to the next jump. Well,
Clark almost went on over. He almost took a nosedive today. This happened earlier in qualifying.
In a previous run, you saw Nightlife going against Nightmare. Well, he just tried to turn it into nighttime here.
There goes the light standard. Knock that down. They are here in Canfield. This was just last night, and watch what happens as he goes up against Snakebite.
First run, brand new truck.
Upside down again, this time all the way over. But here is round one, no problem, and King Kruk.
A lot of people don't realize that crew chief used to be an editor for a magazine. Let's go back to the racing. Short wheelbase Ford having problems. Stevens takes his Chevrolet the next round and still has problems, Gary.
Tell you what, he has to be hanging on every time he goes out in this Chevrolet.
Man, if he picked a bad guy to go against.
Well, already Wilman Sr. has the measure of Goliath, and he'll take the victory. Goliath motoring very slowly. Now he begins to pick up the throttle just a bit.
Oh, he's in trouble, Gary.
Oh, he's in big trouble. He picked up the throttle, but not enough.
But, you know, they got up back on the horse that threw him. They've made their first run. Let's see how hard he goes. Look at that, like it never happened before, like a gunfighter. He's going for the throat.
Oh, and I think he got it.
Whoa, he's
and
going
he's
over
upside down again. All the way over. Scott Stevens has to be saying, oh, no. And here is a characteristic of a loose cannon. This is Colt Cobra in the snake bite truck. Now, he gets out of control right here, hits a car that's parked off course, runs over that junker, and gets her woed just before he hits a service shed.
Gary, everybody that knows the story knows that the only reason Colt Cobra became involved in monster truck racing was to beat Bigfoot. In order to beat Bigfoot, you got to qualify hard. This is the qualifying shot earlier this afternoon. Check it out.
He's headed right for the TV compound. Watch the people scatter over there. Tear off the sheet metal, in this case fiberglass. The truck is in good condition, and here is Scott Stevens, the far lane, the left lane, lane 2, and it looks like
whoa, John Moore.
Stevens by a fender, if he had a fender.
Yeah. Oh, he's still trying to shut it down. The throttle may have hung a little bit. New driver in the far lane, the Black Stallion. We don't know that much about him, but he's out here to play with these guys.
Two drivers we don't know much about.
Well, I do know one thing. The guy driving that truck. Oh, here we go again. Head straight for the TV crew. Left turn, Clyde. There you go. He pulls it back in. And you can see a bomb here. So far, so good.
No, Jack's going to take it. Oh, and he's almost over on his nose. He almost went on over.
And speaking of eyes on, look what happened earlier today.
This was in qualifying. He's against the clock right now, and he gets in trouble off that second jump, the second set of cars, but watch him power out.
Throttle up, pulls it out.
But right here, he has no room to power out. He can't use the throttle. Look what happened.
That's the short area we're talking about. If he had had 20 more feet.
These drivers do not like the lane that Snakebite is running in right now. And it's all Fred Schaefer, Army.
What a clean run. Oh, here we go again.
Snakebite's in trouble through the Hydra barrier, and look at that. Is anybody in the building?
The story's building at the end of the track. Gary, he completely demolished it, literally ran through it. Look. This could almost be a case of sabotage. There was a wood screw. Now, why would you have a wood screw around any kind of a racing vehicle that was hung in the injection throttle there?
Are you trying to imply something, Army?
I'll say this, that there's no reason in the world a wood screw should ever be around any kind of racing vehicle like this. He's got a full body on him. Earlier in qualifying, take a look at what happened, though.
He's been upside down so many times this season. He almost got upside down again. He's out of control. Now watch him go through these Hydra barriers. They're filled with water. He takes a shower, but at least keeps it sunny side up.
He gives a thumbs up to the starter, waiting for the light to go green. Man, let's hope for a straight run.
Carolina Crusher, the far lane, and Gary Porter takes the victory.
Well, here we go again.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. We've talked about this in shows past, Army. I think they have to take that truck back to Texas.
Gary, just like you noted, both of these drivers are sharp. The driver that stays the coolest is going to win. We got a major problem
down there with Bigfoot, and now a problem with Taurus.
Taurus has blown the bottom end of the transmission or the drive shaft, but Bigfoot's still running. Andy Brass notices Taurus is out of the running. He's lost a throttle linkage, I believe. He reached down with his right hand and is driving across, trying to get to the final round.
This may be the slowest semifinal ever in monster truck racing, but Bigfoot will advance. Now he finds the fire, and he will advance to the championship. And there is a good look at Fred Schaefer. Oh, what horsepower he had. There's just a little nudge right there, no damage.
The problem was a result of this run during the qualifying session. I want you to notice what happens. Watch the left front spindle, digs in, flips, completely demolishes the body. Now, the crew worked feverishly to get the vehicle back together. Booker got to see a lot of real estate right there, didn't he?
And
look at Porter on the right now.
To enjoy it.
See, Gary, you brought out an interesting point. He is constantly tweaking this truck. Even though he had what would consider an easy run, he still drove it hard to learn something.
Drive the racetrack. You're competing against the track, and
this is the last race for the Nightmare truck. They're going to rebuild the truck.
And
He is going to go out fighting. Look at that.
Well, wait a minute. He
just
just lost the drive shaft.
But remember, in the first round, he lost the steering. I believe it happened to him again. He's driving right now with no steering, Gary Lee, none whatsoever.
And here's where he locks the brakes up and slides to a stop.
See, the wheels stay straight in the front. He did not turn those wheels.
But he has an easy victory here over a local driver from Jacksonville.
At the finish line, Stevens hooks left, but look at the guy on the left lane. He's coming around to the right. His steering went completely away, Gary.
Yeah, look at the rear steer on that Toyota truck as they go away from you now. Watch Scott Stevens as he veers off to the left. And look at the problem with the Toyota. They're kind of square dancing. They're
think he's not serious about this sport.
Well, he looks totally out of control here, and somehow he uses all the runoff area, all the shutdown area, uses both lanes.
Smozanic psychic about the run. He's got to know that Porter could possibly get over to him.
And he's out of shape again. And he's almost upside down, off to the left, off to the right.
Boy, big time driving right there.
Well, now we can see what Scott does as he will go for the victory here. But watch the wheel stand. Once again, you talk about a tight suspension, a lot of horsepower, a short wheelbase. It all combines to do this right here. He nails the throttle, goes over that second set of cars, and there is the wheel stand.
He very easily could have gone.
This year, the snake has some bite to it.
Yeah, he's got some venom in them fangs this year.
And the snake gets the whole shot as Wayne Smozanic is in trouble. He is out of control. He hits the Hydra barriers. They do their job.
The people in Ohio are going to get to see the
What's going to happen in the second half of the run? It is, oh, hang on, Dennis Anderson. He almost high-headed that thing. Dennis Anderson, both those guys had trouble getting stopped. Dennis Anderson has never heard of that word. He never sandbags. Full tilt all the way. Look at that wheel stand. And Dennis Anderson, was he disqualified? Did he get out of the run there? I'm not sure.
I can't tell. The dust came up.
Watch off to the right side of your screen. Right there, he pops the air right out of that tire.
Rules say when you run out of bounds, you're disqualified. In this sport, when you're disqualified, you do not come back. You go on the trailer. This was in the first round. Bigfoot, the fastest truck of the day, got that by run for being the fastest. Both big Chevrolet monster truck with a Snoopy nose of Eldon DePew. Flat drilled the Crusher, but the Crusher pulled him back on the other end. DePew's in trouble.
Oh, he high-sides it, brings it back down. Eldon DePew had the whole shot.
Snake-looking truck in the near lane. Oh, wheels up, start for snake
fight, but here comes Torres, and Torres takes the victory in the air. Where'd he go?
The rear suspension collapsed on him.
Well, you know, in an effort to go lighter, they're running lighter axles, and he broke the rear axle. Gary Porter came into his own last season, and now this year, snakebite is certainly a factor. And look at snakebite. Colt Cobra with the advantage, but here comes Porter. Who won it?
Cobra looks like he missed the second jump. You know, that's why pushing the truck to the limit in every round in these races is so important. That's what got Dabney here, the fact that he was a quick loser.
Barefoot takes the victory. Dabney's in trouble, almost over on his side. Look at that, back the other way and upside down. Dabney almost had it saved. He kept his foot in the throttle. I have never seen a truck go that far over to the one side without going on over.
Both go to the starting line literally on full kill. Neither one was going to roll over for the other one. They came off the line so hard, both trucks at the same time exploded their transmission. Gary, in order to win a race, you got to finish it.
They have flip-flopped the lane. Very close to the second set of cars, and it's Barefoot. Brett Schaefer takes the victory.
Gary!
But there was some slight contact. Now, is that going to be a problem?
Yes.
No changing of drivers in that particular vehicle. And it's going to be, once again, all Andy Brass. So Andy Brass will be in the final championship. He crosses the center line, but no contact. Remember, the rule states if you cross and make contact, qualifying for these monster events. And here's a look at Andy Brass in the new creation of Bob and Marilyn Chandler. Bigfoot 10. He gets in trouble right here, rolls on over. Spectacular rollover, but very, very minor damage. West of the city, actually, in a complex owned by Al Unser Sr.
You're exactly right. The city of Indianapolis is trying to bring people like Scott here. He can go home. We don't have very far to go. Morris is going, however, into the next round. Gary Lee. He's closest to the wall. He is really going to try to lay a shot here for you. He can make a name for himself.
Oh, he's in big trouble. He hits that outside wall that you talked about. Upside down, Wayne Smozanik. Oh, he's putting on a show for the fans. There goes the catch fence. Oh, my, you can see the damage to the suspension, the front axle, but Wayne is okay. He's in the near lane, closest to the television camera. In the auto value pink front.
What the problem is, in the opening, I showed you how soft this track is. Okay, now, once you get a tire down, it hooks a rut. Okay, and look at those big cleats in those tires. And
going up against Kirk Dabney's nightmare. Now watch the problem in the far lane.
The soft track, as soon as these big tires grab, the track is soft. I showed you in the opening, Ford of John Moore, the HPX Ford vehicle, a good run, but look what happened at the end.
Watch the near lane.
The left front tire in the near lane, they have what they call a knuckle on that tire. It's like a suspension piece, and it broke. So Van Loo goes on the trailer. Heat and transmission. Mark O'Gara of Diamond P Sports takes you on board with Andy Brass.
Oh, who won that one? That was close. Did you see the wheel stand coming over the finish line by Gary Wiggins? In the far lane, he goes up against John Moore in no problem.
Now, both trucks leave the starting line together, but on the second jump landing, something lets go in the back of the truck. And when Van Loo pulled to a stop.
Good in-cockpit view of Gary Wiggins.
As soon as the truck moves, he shifts the transmission.
Oh, and he's in trouble. He almost rolled over. He hit one of the ramps there. We have a motorcycle show as well here in the Hoosier Dome tonight with a ramp jump, and he hit the takeoff ramp. And he saw that Bigfoot had won, and he had a chance to race against him. He wants to put those fangs in Bigfoot here tonight.
He did it. I think he did it. And then has to burp the throttle on the other end.
Well, once again, it looks like Colt Cobra had the whole shot kind of light, and it was all Colt Cobra. And look at the damage to the bed. The fiberglass bed breaks loose on the, as has been his custom, another wild ride for Wayne Smozanik.
Well, Smozanik literally got in the catch fence down in Naples, Florida. They've been trying to get the chassis ironed out. As you can tell, it is not back together 100%. As a matter of fact, on this run, the rear end kicked around on him, and if he had been on his toes, he'd have been in trouble, Gary. Does that tell you something? Chevrolet going up against the GMC, and Porter drilled Stevens on that starting line, Gary.
Yeah, he won that
we got
at
a
the
problem
Christmas
here.
tree.
Stevens is in trouble down here, Gary.
He has broken the rear suspension, perhaps wiped out the brake line. He does get a woad, yes, before he collects that fence down there. And so he pulls alongside Wild.
Dabney's a guy that I call a kamikaze pilot. Man, he will pull a trigger on you in a heartbeat. Look at that. He's pushing that new Wild. Oh, there goes
He's
Dabney
upside
over.
down. He actually rolls it on over, doesn't make it all the way over. He was in trouble midway through this run.
And did not lift. He knew he was in trouble, but he was still going after the jugular vein. From the get-go, just sitting on the start line. Look at that, look at this.
Wheel stand.
Whoa!
Oh, he hit that second ramp with the rear tires. That's not the configuration you want to go over that jump. Oh! During the first day of qualifying, Pizzo would sustain heavy rear end damage with this very tough landing. Watch, right here. Ooh, there goes the suspension. Now, he qualified for today's race, and it appears as if the same thing happens again. Then watch Mark Hall in that slick shutdown area. All kinds of action here. There goes the suspension, and there goes Mark out through some very wet grass.
See, Gary, that's exactly what we were talking about, and as you well know, boy, you're not going to find anything in the world slicker than wet grass. Meanwhile,
for a race or two, drew Fred Schaefer, but the executioner was no match for Barefoot. Now remember how Mark Hall hits the second set of cars. Gene Patterson taking the measure of John Moore, and no problem, but watch this landing.
working for a living, Gary Lee.
Watch the air Patterson gets in laying down the second quickest pass in the qualifying session.
You know, but Gary, on this run, he hits hardest where the feathers are the thinnest. And this is what happened.
Well, we'll see how those tough landings affect Bigfoot. And
why not Bigfoot? You can't run two trucks with the same name in this series. That wraps that up. Meanwhile, Dodge and Ford.
Andy Brass by a fender. They almost get together, and Brass almost goes over.
The worst he can finish is second today.
Side by side off the first jump, but there it is, the big red Barefoot, the red Dodge of Fred Schaefer.
Oh, we got a problem. Rear steer went away on Van Loo. He's okay.
Lou almost went on over. Do know it was a horror story for two trucks just trying to get into the program this weekend. Our old pal, the Jersey Outlaw, Nick Rossi, Makes the trip over from Saucon and ends up limping home. Watch the truck explode after the second set of cars.
Now you got to remember, they're trying to qualify for the 12 spot. We call them the Dirty Dozen.
John Moore in the far lane snaps his rear end.
Again, the off-road technology coming over the sport, but John Moore using and abusing that HPX Bronco. New young guns in the circuit. Chevrolet in the far lane, carrying their colors. Dodge in the near lane. Oh, Dodge has got him covered.
Yeah,
big
Dodge
time.
has him covered. You are right.
Whoa.
Oh, hang on. He almost had himself covered.
Green light pops.
Oh, looks like the Dodge Express got the whole shot back.
Whoa, whoa.
They get together, and that would disqualify the Dodge Express because he was over in Gene Patterson's shutdown lane. Well, that roll and throw can also throw you a curve, as Andy's teammate Dan Runty shows us in qualifying. Dan, who is still subbing for Gene Patterson, was the second quick qualifier on the day. Now, notice right here that pop as he backfires the Ford Bigfoot. Now, this is Mark Hall in the Executioner. This is in qualifying. He is in the right lane. Watch what happened.
About 3 foot off the edge of the track, there's a little downgrade. Right there, you see the right rear tire catch it, hooks a rut. There's our flip-flopping and flying
like a sprint
already.
car catching the Don Van Loo. Now, Van Loo was another guy who had a rough run in qualifying there in the near lane.
Yeah, in his qualifying session, the truck hit so hard, if you look at the bottom of it, between the front wheels, he actually tore the hydraulic lines off. So, would that be called a hat trick in this sport, Gary Lee?
That'd be the trifecta. I don't know that Bigfoot has ever been beaten 3 times.
Let's see a third time's charm. I believe it is. I think Foot got him.
I don't know. It's mighty close.
I think
you're
he
right.
Whoa.
Hang on there. Gene almost drove her out to the paddock. Now on to round 1, and watch this wild run by Wildfoot, but Andy Brass taking on Paul Schaefer in the Monster Patrol.
They want to see the Chevys, the Fords, the Dodges go head-to-head. That's what they're getting right now. What's going to happen? You take the call. Whoa!
Brass is in trouble. Andy Brass, I think, was just DQ'd. Involved in a wild semifinal run with Andy Brass in Wildfoot. Talk about lifting the front end. Watch these two guys. Look at Brass.
Yeah, and it'll prove that when a race is over, it's not always at the finish line. Watch the far truck.
Oh, man, Brass up on his nose, over on his left side. He almost rolled that thing over. Destructive day yesterday in qualifying, just trying to make the field. This is Rich Cummings out of Coldwater, Michigan in the Mad Max.
Yeah, his left front suspension completely collapsed. Picture's worth 1,000 words. I can't tell you anymore. Tough break to get into this Dirty Dozen.
In the King Crunch Auto Value, Chevrolet, Rob Grossman had his problems.
Once again, the suspension. Gary, we're at the time of the year when this equipment's starting to show the wear and tear and beating and banging is taken. Perfect example right there. Grossman shuts it down, rolls to a stop, unable to stop it with the brakes.
It's been difficult in qualifying. Here is Rob Grossman in the Auto Value King Crunch.
And in his qualifying round, he's showing you exactly how treacherous the top end of this track is.
Also some highlights from round 1. That is Don Van Loo in Magnum Force, the near lane against Mark Hall, the Executioner. When Hall gets out of shape, he will be disqualified.
And very wisely, just drives it on through in the winner's circle here. The coolest head's going to prevail, not the most horsepower. Whoa, Brass is in trouble. Patterson goes the other end. Brass is okay.
Brass is almost on his side. Gene Patterson takes the win. Uncharacteristic of Andy Brass. He turned in by Fred Schaefer in the Barefoot Dodge, taking on Kirk Dabney, USA 1. And watch Kirk Dabney hand grenade the engine.
Yeah, he kicked a rod right out the side of the engine when he settled down after the final jump. About an $18,000 tag right there.
In round 1 competition, Mark Hall taking on Fred Schaefer in the near lane. Now watch Fred get crooked coming off that second set of cars, but hangs on to get her woed. Remember, in this format, the fast loser of this round will come back. So no matter what happens, oh, look at that wheel stand by Fred Schaefer. Hang on. High sides the Ford, but Gene Patterson brings it back down by powering out of it.
And Barefoot has made a change in that transmission, trying to make up the difference. Look at that.
Oh, Bigfoot by maybe a foot, a big foot. There is the Snakebite truck in the far lane, and this victory in round 1 would go to Colt Cobra with a clocking of 5.56. But look at that nose stand on the landing, and there's the time for Colt Cobra.
Cobra showed us that he is literally going to have this thing on kill today. He wants to win the PENDA Points Series. He said, I'll do anything it takes to win this thing.
Colt Cobra, who is back in the cockpit of Snakebite, he did some R&D work last season. Now he's back in the cockpit, and it is, yeah, Colt Cobra.
He pulls the trigger.
Down, almost rolls it over.
He's trying to shut it down, Gary, on the big end.
Oh.
We've been watching you on the top end of the track. You are getting your neck wrung every time this truck lands. I mean, your head is really ripping around in there. Does that bother your neck at all?
Snakes don't have necks.
Got you, Army. Oh, who was it, Army?
Oh, it's not over yet. Just where they came out in Detroit. The engine in the Ford sets to the rear, but look at the Chevrolet. He bumps him big time on the start, and the Ford comes back. Who had it, Gary?
Ever so close, ever so close. I think it's Paul Schaefer, Army. We'll get the time here momentarily. And it was a rough weekend for Pam Vauders. This is her in qualifying. A few weeks back, she rolled the boogie van, but in Bloomsburg, she would get knocked out by the quick qualifier Andy Brass in round one. Watch this little bootleg spin in the boogie van. Oh, she came real close to getting upside down.
All that goes on the shelf. The first one to see green going to the other end, trying to make it a 3 in a row for Chevrolet. I don't think they're going to do it, Gary.
No, not today.
Whoa,
Power
Schaefer's
Wheels
in trouble.
Bigfoot. Yeah, Monster Patrol had some trouble on that last landing. Andy Brass, normally the first or second fastest in qualifying. Today, he was the 6th fastest. Had some trouble in qualifying.
The problem, as you can see, it was in the chassis. The horsepower was there. The truck just wasn't handling right. It wasn't going where he was pointing it. I'm predicting it's going to go the right side today.
Right lane belongs to Runte. Left lane, far lane. He's in trouble. Gary Porter. Oh, he hit that water barrier over there.
Yeah, the Yodoc barrier system comes in handy. They're designed right down the road from here, so if you're going to test one, I guess this is the place to do it. Set up, they run a new concept in suspension. They seem to be able to get horsepower down, but they're in the bad lane. Whoa!
Oh, but he pulls off the victory. Fastest ever. The first Monsters in the 4-second bracket.
He can do it. He's in a good lane. Oh, no!
Now, will that be a DQ?
I believe so. The rules say both tires have to hit the object you're jumping.
There it is.
He lost his brakes on the line, so he had to go up to neutral to stay at the line without falling through into the red light beam. It was real tough. I figured he'd be more of a run.
This is Fred Schaefer's qualifying run as we welcome you back to Trucks and Tractor Power. Now, most people know when to heed the warning, don't try this at home, but not the men who pilot the tough trucks, and makes a quick and unceremonious round one exit. And of course, Fred Schaefer goes on to round two competition. And there's a look at Pam Vauders against Paul Schaefer. Vauders in that far lane. Now, Vauders in the round one competition had some trouble in the shutdown area right here. Makes a hard left-hand turn and heads for the fence.
Oh, she had through the fence, Gary.
Yeah, he has no choice but to take that left lane because Andy Brass had no choice. He takes the right. Look at him spin the tires.
A lot of wheel
again.
slippage on the starting line.
And it is, and oh! Was Brass disqualified?
I don't know. The rules say those front two tires must hit the object they're
apparently
jumping.
Not. Hall in the executioner. And watch this wild finish by Hall.
Mark Hall is one of the guys that's trying to get a luck streak going for him, and it was not to be at this event, not to be the case. But also in that round, Gary
Wiggins in the Carolina Crusher was also a DQ as he goes out of bounds.
So all of a sudden,
the
story of the night is one time this year, it's a bad lane. Let's see if they maybe have figured something out. A lot of air. Chassis change didn't work for the Chevy. He's coming across track.
Trouble. Dan Patrick, I think, was DQ'd. Snaked by Colt Cobra.
Watch Runty from the end zone, if you will, camera. It yaws on him here real quick. Watch this. See, it'll pitch and then yaw on him.
Well, he takes the victory. He'll come back for more competition here in round two.
Both trucks working a line. Dan Runty is dead on that tree. Truck, that's just almost a perfect run. Whoa, Perkowski's having some trouble.
Oh, yes, some major problems as he takes down the fence. You can see the damage under the truck. He lost some suspension there.
The rear end went away on that truck. Paul Schaefer has proven himself in the sport of mud racing, a past world champion. Right now comes out to go monster truck racing with no wing on the far side. Both of them are in
Colt
trouble.
Pulls off. This could be a mistake. Now let's watch Paul. Paul gets his going again. Continues on. Colt will be disqualified, and Paul could win this one with the slowest winning time in the history of monster truck racing.
Yeah, but Gary, when you go to the bank on Monday morning, they don't care how fast or how slow it was. Now, Dan Patrick, the only Chevrolet to really be able to flex his muscle this year. Patrick, a professional racer, decided he's going to step up and run with these guys, but in order to do it, you got to attack the track.
Mark Hall in the Executioner has not made it into round 2 very often this year, but in a mild upset, he would advance with Ray Porkowski going out of bounds.
I'll tell you what, Mark Hall and his brother are good monster truck people. They just need one thing.
Snake bite a little late to stage on the throttle, and it's going to be
Snake bite.
Colt Cobra.
Whoa, Patrick almost high sides, puts it back down. Colt Cobra with a 521.
Well, Fred Schaefer trying to gain some points in this season-long championship. It is still door handle to door handle, and who won it? Oh, that was too close to call visually.
They're still
Andy
racing.
Brass, a 5:38.
Both drivers, oh, a little bit, there you go, Gary. What he did, he burnt the throttle left lane and spooked the driver in the far lane, made him back on the throttle, so he just flat out thought him on that one.
Now, this was in qualifying. As we look back, a rough ride here for Colt Cobra. Look at this landing.
What happens, the right lane at Canfield has a unique,
In round 1 competition, Ray Porkowski would strike a somewhat similar pose in defeating Paul Schaefer in the Monster Patrol. Hang on. Yeah.
on a mission. They're kind of like the Blues Brothers today.
9th fastest qualifier, Don Van Loo against Dan Runte, the 4th fast qualifier, and Runte takes the victory in round 1. And again, some trouble in the shutdown area for Don Van Loo. Earlier, this is Don Van Loo in Magnum 4s.
Keep an eye at him in a no man's land. The transmission just explodes. They're making so much horsepower. The safety blanket contained most of the shrapnel, but Van Loo really took a ride. He was literally sitting on an A-bomb there for a second.
So he becomes an early spectator. Fred Schaefer caught a single, but watch how close he comes to the far side barriers.
Yeah, but we're not playing hand grenades, so close doesn't count.
Meanwhile, I want to go back and show you this run of Fred Schaefer, who was taken out by Runte. Now watch, something happens, a rough landing over the second set of cars. The front end collapses right here. There is no recoil, and something breaks in the front end. So he's still in competition. Now watch what happened to Ray Porkowski in the near lane after he gets taken out by Dan Patrick. And he was very lucky right here to hang on. He puts the power back in, and also from qualifying earlier today, Dan Patrick in the Chevrolet Samson truck.
Patrick been around the sport a long time, knows what it's going to take to win. He's going to need a little bit more horsepower, but today...
The Dodge Hemi power plant, Don Van Loo is the driver, and watch what happened in qualifying.
Well, the Chevy body and the Dodge combination didn't have a thing to do with that
Spin a wheel.
front spindle breaking, yeah.
So that put Don Van Loo on the truck. Well, and here's some action earlier today from round 1. Dabney the far lane with that new power plant. Oh, he just did get him. He just did get him.
Porter had him over the first jump. As a shutdown area showing you just how treacherous it is.
In round 1, Ray had some mechanical problems with the Dodge Express, and Brian had some trouble getting this monster truck woed in the shutdown area. Let's go back and talk to Kirk.
Equalizer is the track surface. This is a driver's track. Horsepower doesn't have that much to do with it. Patrick looking good.
Oh, a lot of air there, and Dan Patrick is a 5.67, slides to a stop. Didn't have a great run the last round, but he comes back, though, as the fast loser, but it's going to be all overkill this time. Look at the air. Oh, Kirk is
Schaefer
really
might be in trouble.
Player.
Oh, he got her woed. Okay.
Schaefer would have been in trouble had it not been for that quagmire down there.
Andy Brass has been there before. Let's see what's going to happen. Brass looks good off the start, Gary.
Yeah, Brass has him all the way, takes the victory. He'll go to the final. Hang on, Andy. He almost got that thing upside down. But a 5.51, that's not as fast as Dabney.
Hey, we got a race. Check this out. Check it out, Gary.
It is a good one. Who's going to take it? Who's going to take it? I don't know. She seems to know, but I don't know.
Whoa. Meanwhile, Dabney has definitely got his hands full.
Let's take you now back to opening qualifying for the toughest run we've seen so far today. Don Van Loo. Now, this is just to get into the field. Don made the show, but as we noted, was knocked out by Gary Porter in round 1.
Big bear Dodge. We got a race.
Oh, Dan Patrick, first a wheelie, then he almost tips it over when it gets on his nose.
Listen how quiet. All these people in this building, listen how quiet they are to watch this race.
It's all Dennis O. Dennis Anderson got the whole shot.
This is one of the trucks that finished so well last season, and really a lot of people were looking for great things this year, but that was not the case to be. truck. High side, he's on the throttle. A picture's worth 1,000 words.
Now watch on the replay. Watch the shutdown area, the far lane. Watch Vaughters as she gets on the brakes, turns the steering wheel, and slides her just a bit. Oh, Joey Chitwood would be proud of that move. Let's go down trackside.
In the round 1 competition, had a transmission blow in the no man's land area, and watch what happens. He can't go, he's got to go, he stops.
Yeah, he noses into those cars to him in qualifying.
He's laying down a good run, but watch the rear of the truck. The rear right spindle breaks once again, Gary.
Well, he got things fixed. This gets expensive and frustrating.
All the drivers are starting to notice after the finish line, the trucks were landing extremely hard. I rest my case.
Hand grenading an engine. It's been an expensive weekend so far here in Bloomsburg.
You know, people don't realize how hard you have to run these trucks. This is not for grins and giggles. They're chasing this big point money. Gary runs a transmission brake, somebody using drag racing to get him off the line quick. He left good with the Ford.
Oh, look at that landing. Dan Runte.
Runty's coming across.
And a good reflex on the part of Gary Porter as he climbed on the binders. They popped the left rear off that rim. Equalizer taking on Rampage. This is round 1 competition. He would not be around very long. In fact, he hit the Hydra barriers, and Ken Duffy would advance to round 2 competition. Top 2 in points right now, going side by side only in round 2.
Hole shot by Runty.
Look at the wheel stand by Fred Schaefer. Runty knocks him out, though. Fred Schaefer in carefully.
Chevrolet.
Yeah, Schaefer has all kinds of trouble. Well, he lost a golden opportunity.
Don't count Pizzo out. He'll run you hard all the way through. He's running Fred tough.
It was that Hemi that won it for. Look at Fred. Fred is in trouble. That should be a DQ.
Exactly. If you cross into the other man's lane and make contact, Pizzo's coming back with a slide. Fred, you're out of here.
But look at the problems he had on his first qualifying pass. Almost gets, well, he does high set it a bit.
Kind of like it. You have no idea when he's going to send you to the other end.
Hang on. Speaking of being at the other end, the other side, Eric Meager wins it. Almost got tapped. Looked like Schaefer went out of bounds. Schaefer has been disqualified. He was out of bounds. Earlier today, this was in qualifying. And he almost gets first on his nose, then veers off to the left. Now, once again, we're still in qualifying action earlier today. This is Ken Duffy in Rampage. Look at the wheel stand, and he hits that second group of cars. Hang on. He's still on the power. Look at this. And pulls it back out. This turns out to be perhaps the most violent qualifying station we've ever had here on Trucks and Tractor Power. Right lane action with Brian Welsh, and he is all over the shutdown area and finally gets it on over. Incredibly so, he walked away. He was uninjured. Turns out to be pretty intimidating this evening.
I was going to say, the drivers are looking down that left lane, and they don't like what they see. There's a lot of obstacles down there. There's only one little obstacle in the right lane. That's a hill. But David Moore...
Watch him get in trouble right here.
Boy, that hurt.
But again, he stays on the throttle, rights it. Well, it's all Bigfoot, but a rough landing. Oh, he blows off the right rear.
He blew the right rear tire off the front end, nosed in, and then slammed the rear end down.
2 men in the semi's last race with Vaughters taking out the overkill truck. Now here in that dangerous near lane, she punches out Dabney and has some difficulty getting the truck woed before she talked to Army Armstrong.
You got a real good motor guy, and like I said before.
Now here it is, but I want you to watch this rough landing once again from round 1 competition.
And Schaefer is so confident of the run, he goes into what we would call the bad lane.
Oh, and Schaefer has a problem in that bad lane. He's way off course, and he gets disqualified as Pam stages the boogie van. Surprise,
Major.
surprise, surprise.
Major
Pam Vaughters
upset.
again has trouble getting it woed, but Pam Vaughters look at that wheelie. Look at Deppy pull the trigger on the big Dodge Hemi and do a wheelie, and he almost doesn't get her stopped. As we will see here with some highlights from a run by David Morris in the equalizer. This is qualifying. Now watch what happens.
Nose is over, and the impact of the 10,000-pound truck completely tears the tie rod off. You can see the hydraulic fluid coming out. So the Sampson truck, known by the kids with those big old arms, was literally trying to muscle his way into this show. And this is a classic case of a bad qualifying run.
Well, he lost the front end, lost the doghouse, broke the axle, the suspension, a lot of damage.
He's already got into the second round with a 5:04, so the track is getting quicker.
Looks like it's Schaefer. It looks like Schaefer.
Whoa, they're trying to get him shut out on the big end.
Schaefer, a 5:03 van here in round 2.
What'd I say?
And there is the margin of victory. Both drivers having some difficulty. The shutdown lane, a little 360 or 180 bootleg spin there by Pam. Now here's a look again at Gary Porter coming right at you, and this is where he gets DQ'd.
Both tires have to hit the jump. Remember that. See, the tire on the left did not.
Yeah, right there, he is out of bounds DQ'd. That means that even with the DQ, Alan Pizzo and Fred Schaefer. Now Schaefer takes an easy win. Something lets go in Pizzo's Predator. So he was out of competition, and Fred continues.
Trying to adapt to the monster sport. Meanwhile,
Pam got him. Vodder's got him in the boogie van, and once again, she does a little half spin down there to a stop. She is a crowd favorite.
built the Dodge truck, so he is the creator in fiberglass.
And some trouble in the shutdown area for Eric Meager. He's on the brakes, and talk about some fiberglass damage.
The truck will have a tendency to do what they call a pitch or a yaw, and that'll give you all kinds of trouble.
As evidence of that, Army, let's take a look at first round qualifying. That ramp put things a bit off kilter for Dan Patrick in Sampson. On the second jump, he got nearly 45-degree angle to the turf, lands, tags the fence, and he was DQ'd on that run. He qualified second round, though, with a 5.99. That was good for fifth overall in qualifications. Tim Tesmer in Hercules took on Todd Froelich in Rampage. Tesmer having the same plight, but it's not affecting just the strong guys. Froelich was all over the place as well. Almost looks like the big bumper cars out there. Over the shutdown area and how slick it was. Oh, a good run for Pizzo.
Major upset in the sport of monster truck racing right there, and he's trying to get his shutdown. He's on the throttle. Alan Pizzo. Black and that big Hemi, a tough combination.
Oh, and Overkill had the whole shot, but he was DQ'd out of bounds.
Let's see what's going to happen here.
Put on the show. If you can't win Be Spectacular, Dan Ronnie won it, but boy, was Fred Schaefer spectacular. Alan Pizzo had some problems in qualifying. The Predator with suspension and drive shaft problems. That left a question mark about Pizzo remaining in competition, as the Black Predator having his problems. Fred Schaefer in barefoot was upset by Mark Hall in the Executioner. Fred was disqualified. He was out of bounds. Can't do you any good if you can't get it to the pavement.
Oh, me.
Wait a minute. I think we got a red light. We got a red light for Rampage. Hercules just sitting there.
I don't blame you. Don't move until the light goes green. Now, he's going to make a completed run. We'll have to get with the special events people and find out exactly what the call is.
This year, during the first qualifying session, Dan Patrick in Sampson, again in that left lane, hits the second set of cars crooked and high side, landing with tremendous impact. Well, but in qualifying, a bite was taken out of the racing budget of Alan Pizzo. As he blows an engine, you'll see the smoke here in a moment, and also joined Dan Patrick back in the trailer.
As a matter of fact, when the engine let go, the shock absorber blew on the right rear, fuel line let go. It's just a bad... Another story, Alan Pizzo. Seems to have a ton of problems here. Last year he had a problem, broke a rear wheel off, tore up a lot of suspension pieces. Earlier races here, he blew a motor in competition.
Now, Fred Schaefer in the far lane taking on the Dungeon of Doom. Fred is going to take round one, you'll see here. But you'll see that it comes at a price. Look at that landing.
Yeah. Alan Pizzo in the far lane against the Stinger. And his problem came in the shutdown area. Hang on, Alan. He gets his foot back in it. Nice save for Alan Pizzo.
Watch it how the front end, it's a four-wheel drive vehicle. You only get half the power to the ground starting right now. Look at this.
Big wheel stand, but he had enough power from the rear wheels as the front end settles down to take the victory.
Whoa.
Big wheelie, and that is going to be his downfall as the big blue Ford will go up against that driver right there for the championship. Look on Fred Schaefer in round one. Fred was the slowest qualifier. That's why this pairing came up, but Fred pulls a big wheelie, was DQ and out of bounds, and the measure goes to Dan Runty. Now here's another look at that tough landing by Tesmer, who also took in Rampage in the near lane, Dan Patrick and Sampson in the far lane, and Frolic almost hits the wall. As he's trying to get this car shut down, it's a long shutdown area, but almost into the fencing. A DQ in round one out of that scary far lane. He's, of course, leasing this Dungeon of Doom truck from Bob Chandler, and we had a comment from Dan after that run. And then we take a look head on now at the Predator. Again, a tough landing for Alan Pizzo, but he has come a long way just this weekend. He's made great strides to compete with the heavyweights. You see how close he got there. Motor in qualifying. Talk about an expensive proposition for the privateer from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Dabney was done for the night. You can see the liquid pouring from that mount. And so he has to roll back and put it back up on the trailer. And this wheel stand by Pam Viders kind of reminds you of a big old grizzly bear stalking its prey. And look at the boogie van get up on the hind quarters. And at that point, she had to come out of the throttle. And that gave Alan Pizzo the victory here in round two to advance him to the second round.
Well, Alan Pizzo immediately goes into the lanes because his vehicle is hot. Now, there's a rule that says when one driver stages, the other driver has to go to the lanes. He can't burn him down, if you will. Meager staged and then backed out of the lanes. Pizzo's telling the flagman or the starter, get him on the starting line. I am not going to move. I am hot. I want to go racing.
A shot there of Ken Kohling, who is the crew chief for Eric Meager. Finally, Eric staged the run itself, all Eric Meager.
Yeah, but look at the Predator. Meager takes the win. He was the first the other end, but I told you about the heat problem in that Predator camp. That's why they staged early. We're going to have to wait. The WCW crew, congratulations. They were first the other end, but I think they're going to get caught on a technicality here. Their driver did not stage when he was supposed to. Alan, rules are rules. We live and die by the rules. We just got word on a technicality. You are the winner of this event. You went up and staged. He rolled through the staging beam, so congratulations, you're the winner.
Tough luck for Allen, who breaks in round one when he was going up against Mike Viders. Now watch here on the ISO.
What you'll notice is the front wheels. Watch the angles of both front wheels.
So Pizzo out of action going up against Fred Schaefer. Haslett in the dreaded Canfield left lane.
Hello, pole.
Yeah, and he knocks the pole over, or almost over, so we had a chance to visit with Stinger, the far lane.
Hey, we got a race.
And it's Stinger by whatever, such a slight margin.
Might not be over.
There for a moment, he locked the brakes up, trying to get that thing slow. There's a 507. As they're both staged now for the launch.
Runty's got it on kill.
Oh, good.
He's in trouble.
Battle, but Runty hangs on. No, he doesn't. He's upside down. Dan Runty in the shutdown area got upside down. Of course, the cloud of dust now obscuring our view. Now we start to see the inverted truck.